All right, welcome back to the Dairy Raid, and moving on to the receivers in our look back at the spring and preview of the fall series. And this group has to take a big step forward. Obviously, I am not speaking anything here that even really needs to be said. Obviously, in the air raid offense, the wide receivers need to lead the way, push the ball downfield, and help this offense move forward. The group underperformed last year, with the exception of Will Pauling. The group just underperformed. I don't know if it was because of Mike Brown and Phil Longo not gelling, or the returning players just not knowing how to think for themselves and read leverage. A lot of things that went into last season that just did not click with the receiver group. We saw a step forward in the bowl game. Again, after Mike Brown left. Who knows? After Chimere Dike left. And we're started to have to rely on some of the younger guys to get some playing time. And the offense took a step forward in the bowl game. Yes, it was against a statistically bad LSU defense, but it's also one of the most athletic defenses they played all season. So there's both sides of the spectrum there. So looking ahead to the receiver group this year, are they going to take the step forward, and do they have the horses in the room to get the job done? Because obviously a lot of people were calling this spring to bring in more transfers, because we didn't think we had enough talent in the group. The vaunted boundary wide receiver that so many people have been calling for, yet doesn't exist in the offense. And they didn't. They brought in one transfer during the winter transfer window in Tyrell Henry, and that's it. They stayed pat with the group that they had, and they decided that they had the guys to go forward. So let's take a look at what we have coming back and how we expect that group will be used this season. So we'll start with the wide receivers. I think Bryson Green's going to lock down his starting spot, obviously, at the right side wide receiver. It's where he was last year. I don't see anybody necessarily pushing him to take that spot. We're losing Chimere Dike last year, who was the left wide receiver for most of the season. And who's going to replace him? CJ Williams obviously is the first guy who comes to mind. The vaunted transfer win last season, would have been the highest rated receiver recruit Wisconsin's ever brought in. And he underperformed tremendously. He was young. We can't forget that. He was young and inexperienced. But he played in an air raid offense. You'd think he would be ready to go. He just never seemed comfortable with reading leverage. He was bad at getting off the line with any kind of press coverage. He made some great catches, and when you allow him to get into space, he can do it, but he didn't take a step forward like we thought he would last year. And a name that you've been hearing a lot this spring, again, we keep talking about taking a step forward, is Quincy Burrows. And Quincy Burrows does the things that Phil Longo wants of a wide receiver. He's got the speed to push up field. He can work well with leverage. And the good thing about him not getting a lot of reps last year is he rep drills over and over and over. He had time to focus on his fundamentals. And from what we're hearing in the spring, he's been making a lot of plays, and that patience that he showed last year is going to pay off. And that's why I think Quincy Burrows is going to be your day one starter at the left side wide receiver. Vinny Anthony, I think, is going to play into that number 3 wide receiver, a guy who's going to play both sides role that he picked up towards the end of the year last year. He did in the bowl game. And played a little bit of slot last year. Don't think we're going to see that this year. But I think he's going to be your super sub at the wide spots. And could be a nice compliment to Bryson Green especially. So I think that's where the number 3 goes in there. Moving inside to the slot receivers. And, I caught some flack on a recent video where I'm talking about or on my last appearance on Locked On Badgers, about saying that Tretch isn't going to push Will Pauling out of his spot. So it's going to have to be Tretch finding other ways to get on the field. Tretch Kekahuna is an incredibly talented slot receiver. One of the most dynamic athletes we've ever had at Wisconsin, especially at that position, but even overall. What I mean by pushing is you don't want to take Will Pauling off the field. You want Tretch and Will Pauling on the field at the same time as much as possible. Okay? When Tretch goes in and Pauling goes out, okay, all you gain is the difference in the athletic ability between Tretch and Pauling. Okay? You lose the quote-unquote Madden rating between that one guy. But what does the offense gain when Tretch comes on the field and Riley Nowakowski goes out? What does the offense gain when they go 2 back and we pop Tretch on the outside? That's what I mean. I think Tretch is going to get a lot of playing time. And I think he's going to take all those reps that Skylar Bell got as the number 2 slot last year. And I think he's going to take a lot of tight end reps because I think they're going to go a lot of 10 personnel. I think when they go empty personnel, he's going to get in. He's going to be a really great gadget guy in the offense. That they're going to find a lot of different ways to get the ball in his hands. And then, on top of that, you have Will Pauling and the guys on the outside. So, it's not addition by subtraction, it's addition by addition. So, Will Pauling, I firmly believe in the 11 personnel will be the starting slot receiver, the H, in this offense. He has the most experience. He understands leverage and placement a lot. I also think that Tretch is going to get a lot of playing time. And he is going to develop into a very big role this season and going forward. But we can have both. It's not Pauling or Tretch. It's both. All right, moving on. Heard Tyrell Henry a couple times this year. He's been working mostly with the 2s, a little bit farther down the depth chart. He's a guy that I think is going to be a core special teams guy. I think he's going to be our kick returner and our punt returner. He's going to get a lot of reps there. He's also, I think they might be positioning him to be kind of like Vinny Anthony was towards the middle of the season, that backup at kind of both spots. And then he can build his way into a bigger role next season when Bryson Green moves on, and who knows if Will Pauling decides to go pro. There'll be a lot more opportunities going forward. Again, another thing, he's young. So I think they're going to find a role for him. I think they're going to get him on the field in the kicking game and maybe special teams, but his receiving role might not be so much. And then obviously there's the early enrollee, Kyneberry Johnson. Young. Great that he came in the spring and got some reps and got into the system and is getting ahead of the game. And he's the heir apparent as well in the slot. So, I think you're going to start seeing a real focus on making sure that there's always solid slots going forward. And that's going to make the offense go better overall. So, that is that. And that is almost the receivers. I almost forgot Chris Brooks. Let's see if he sticks around. He was a guy who always seems to be injured and, made a couple great circus catches last spring that caught everyone's attention, but he's always injured. So it's kind of easy to forget about him because he's never usually there. So let's see. Let's see. Again, I'm recording this video on April 29th. Portal closes in, 2 days? Let's see if he's still here in 2 days. Hope so. He has a lot of upside. He's just got to stay healthy. All right. That's the receivers. Next time, let's talk about quarterbacks and where the quarterback room stands heading into fall camp and exiting the spring. So, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.